What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of Chat with Will Grant. This episode is going to be all about mental health. This has been a very popular topic because so many of us today are starting to struggle with mental health in a very similar way that we're starting to struggle with physical health. Seems like every time that we turn around, either us or someone we care about is starting to struggle with anxiety or even struggle with depression or oops, something's coming up here. So always seems like it's someone struggling with anxiety or depression, and we all know at least one or two people who may be struggling with some sort of PTSD. And these are all things that we can work on. It's not our fate to where we're just stuck being anxious the rest of our life. We're stuck being depressed, or we're stuck struggling with this PTSD. In the same way that somebody isn't just stuck being overweight or stuck being unhealthy in some way. So we can improve our mental health in a very similar way to where we can actually improve our physical health. Before I got on to today, I just actually Googled the exact definition of mental health so we can clarify exactly what that is. It says mental health is a person's condition with regard to their psychological and emotional well-being. So how you're feeling up here and how you're feeling here, essentially. Mental health is a state of well-being in which an individual realizes his or her own abilities and can cope with normal stresses of life, can work productively, and is able to make a contribution to his or her community. And I think that's really, really important because I think just being able to cope with the normal stresses of life. We have no control over this, but there's a million and one different stresses of life. And one thing that I've noticed from experience and from talking to people who also have struggled with mental health issues is when you're not as mentally healthy or as mentally strong as you can be, the outside stresses that we have no control over tend to really dictate our mood and our psychological and our emotional well-being, as opposed to when you are mentally healthy and mentally strong, there's very little in your external environment that can affect your internal environment. And that reminds me of physical health because when somebody is physically healthy and physically strong, there's not much in their external environment that's going to make them sick because they have a strong immune system, they have a strong nervous system, their heart's pumping well. And our mind is very similar. When we're thinking well and when we're feeling strong, there's not much that's going to bother us. And the more that these external stresses bother us, kind of is a good measurement of our physical health. And also, it ended with saying, can work productively and is able to make a contribution to his or her community. I think that is a perfect gauge of our mental health because when somebody is mentally sick, we're tend to be stuck in our heads to where we're not able to contribute to our environment or to contribute to our family or our society because we're dealing with our own problems. And physical health is very similar as well. When we're physically unhealthy, it seems like we tend to slow everyone down around us as opposed to being strong enough to the lift up others around us that we truly care about. So the question is why? Why does it seem like so many people today are struggling with mental health issues when it doesn't seem like it was as popular before? Or why does it seem like every kid I talk to under 20 years old is struggling with mental health? And even people in their 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s, they're going to the doctors and they're trying to figure out, hey, I don't feel right. I feel depressed. I don't have any urgency to wake up, and I just want to sit and sleep. And this is huge signs of mental health. And what I've found and what I've experienced with my own experience is When we are disconnected with ourself and disconnected with our environment, that tends to be one of the root causes of mental health. We tend to be thinking more about ourself and through our ego because we're disconnected to all the things around us. And what I found is when I was struggling with anxiety and even borderline a depression a few times in my life and even some sort of PTSD, I noticed I was constantly thinking about myself. Every single time that I felt the worst was always when I was just thinking about me and what I wanted and what I felt like should have been, as opposed to just trying to better myself for the contribution of my community. So, for example, I literally found every single time that I was feeling really bad mentally, really bad, I was constantly thinking about the things that I don't have or why I'm short, like falling short in some way, or the things that I feel like it should be for me. But then when I could just stop and just say, hey, look, it's not really about me. The more I think that this is all about me, the more unhappy that I'm going to be. It's really about us. And the more that we can connect with our environment, connect with the people around, and even connect with ourselves, the more that we can understand ourselves. One of the biggest things that helped me 180 was when I was at my lowest point mentally and really lowest point physically as well, because like I touched up in the last episode, our physical health tends to determine a lot of our mental health, and our mental health tends to determine a lot of our physical health. They work together. So a lot of times, if we're mentally unhealthy, we tend to be physically unhealthy too, because that's our mind is kind of what's programming everything else. So to nourish one is to nourish the other. So um, when I found that I was struggling the most mentally, I was thinking about myself. And then the more that I could just try to better myself, to nourish myself in one way or another, just helped me feel a little better. So, what I was going to say is when I was at my lowest point, mentally and physically, is when my brother first recommended the Wim Hof breathing. And this is something that I recommend to every single person who struggles with anxiety, who struggles with depression, who struggles with any sort of mental health issue, especially and even PTSD. Um, when I started the Wim Hof breathing, for first of all, just after a 15-minute session, after 3 rounds of this Wim Hof style breathing, I felt better mentally than I have since I was a kid. All of the anxiety, all of the stress, all of the depression, all of the tension and the weight just felt like it was uplifted for that short period of time during and after that session. But it raised my awareness and shined a light on what I was supposed to feel like. And that's one of the most powerful things about the Wim Hof breathing is because it connects you with yourself. And like I said, one of the huge things that we've found to link towards depression and anxiety is a disconnect from yourself and a disconnect of your environment. And just to take time, putting your phone on airplane mode, putting up the screens, putting up all the distractions, and just to stop and connect with yourself. And that Wim Hof breathing of that deep, deep breathing is literally going to take you straight to your doorway in so you could start to listen to yourself and understand yourself. Um, a quick question from David is on average, how many rounds of Wim Hof breathing do you do in one session? Usually about 3 is a full session. And what I found is the first session just gets you past that constant mental chatter. And then that second round, or I'm sorry, the first round just gets you through that constant mental chatter, that monkey brain. And then the second round, you feel some sort of moment of presence, of stillness, of awareness. And remember, all anxiety is from thoughts of the past or anxiety about the future. It's when your mind is lacking presence. That is anxiety, that is PTSD, that is a depression because you're not only disconnected from yourself and your environment, but you're disconnected from the right now. The mind is just constantly going from the past or from the future or all these things that we have to worry about instead of just bringing yourself right back into that moment and doing your best and attempting to practice to feeling your best in each moment. And that's why that Wim Hof breathing, another reason, was so powerful, because it got me to just stop consuming my phone all the time, consuming other TV, listening to all these people around me. And I just got to stop and listen to my breath. And the more that I listened to my breath, the more I could listen to myself. And I started to become more aware of where my mind went in certain circumstances. And I started to raise the awareness on what are these things in my life that weren't serving me, and what are the things in the life that I truly care about. And on top of that, especially if you have some sort of PTSD, we tend to hold our emotional stress and emotional trauma in our survival centers, like right down into our lower gut and our pelvic region. And when we're doing that Wim Hof breathing, that deep, deep belly breaths, you're getting that energy that gets stuck from that. Even if you're driving and somebody cuts you off and you give them the finger and you get emotional and you get frustrated and you get mad, we hold on to these toxic emotions, which are really chemicals inside our body. And for us to just stop a moment and take in those deep breaths, it gets that energy moving and releases a lot of that, which tends to be a huge cause of the anxiety, is that over buildup that we're holding on to just too much. And that brings me to the third reason of the why, is because it's too much consumption and too much overthinking. We're consuming so much information, so much bad energy, so much toxic BS. And that's just causing our mind to be in overdrive all the time. We don't have to be thinking all the time. We're not really going to think our way through problems like the way we think we are. What I've found is that we tend to learn and overcome our problems when we can just turn the mind off and just observe, and just stop and observe and listen. And when you can stop thinking about this or thinking about that, and this is not easy, this is a practice, and that's why the Wim Hof has been so powerful, because you're practicing and strengthening that same part of your brain that brings you to that present moment. And you're able to listen and to observe. And then that's what's going to help you release so much of the tension that we build up. And one of the best and easiest things to do if you're struggling with any sort of mental health or depression, anxiety, PTSD, is just get outside. And I can't stress this enough. Get outside. Instead of sitting in your room and sitting in your house on your phone or on the TV, um, running away from the chatter that's in here, go outside and connect with your environment and connect with yourself. One of the most powerful slash scary slash difficult practices that I did in my life when I was really struggling with mental health issues is, anytime something came up of discomfort, I sat with it. And I dove down that hole until I just kept asking, why? Like, why do I feel this way? Well, I feel this way because of this. Well, why does that make me feel this way? And what that does, if you keep going down that rabbit hole, is it brings you to the root cause, to where when you get to that root cause is when you can, like, oh, that was nothing. It was just something that happened to me when I was 11 years old. You can release that and move on. And yeah, just getting outside can be so powerful, because our energies tend to rebalance. Our bodies and minds tend to um, get back into harmony with nature, into our natural state, as well as just being around trees, and something with seeing the greens and the blue will naturally relax our body and naturally relax our mind, and it connects us with our environment. A lot of us don't realize that we are our environment, especially if we're struggling with anxiety, especially if we're struggling with a depression. We feel so disconnected to the ones around us, when we feel so disconnected to our environment. But just to go out into a park and go out into nature and just breathe, that was one of the most powerful things that I did, is movement and breath outside in nature. And there's also something about that sun, something about that vitamin D on your skin. Like, if you can expose your skin, take your shirt off, go to the beach, like go to the park and take your shirt off and just expose some skin to that sun. And that vitamin D can be so therapeutic for the mind and for the body. Um, And another thing is our gut brain axis. This has a huge factor over how we're feeling mentally. What I've found and what I've experienced with myself and experienced from the people I've talked to, and even have seen some research on, is our food has literally a direct correlation with how we're going to be feeling mentally. We have that gut brain axis. So pretty much all the food is that we're eating is information for our DNA and for our microbiome to connect with its environment. Like that is the way our body is one of the biggest ways our body connects to our environment is our food. So if we're eating food, say if it's a sick and stressed animal, a chicken or a cow that's stuck in, or a pig that's stuck in these tiny little quarters where there's, surrounded by hundreds of them, they can't move, they never see the sun, they never get outside, they never touch real dirt, they're going to bathroom where they're eating, they're sick, they're stressed, they're pumped with drugs and antibiotics, they're fed a low quality, poor meal, and they're living an awful life and they're stressed their whole life. And when we consume that DNA, we're going to be sick and stressed. And same thing with plants too. Same thing with other foods like even Twinkies, Pop Tarts, processed food tends to make our gut almost fight itself. And then it finds us disconnected and fighting our environment. So to improve our nutrition will improve our mental well-being. So if you're going to eat meat, find the grass-fed, organic, no antibiotics. Antibiotics alone is probably one of the quickest way to some sort of mental health issue, anxiety, or depression. I believe I read somewhere, I could be wrong on these exact numbers. So you could fact check me and probably get a closer number, but one dose of antibiotic like increased your chances by like 25% of depression for the next 6 months. Two doses in 1 year is ups it by almost 50%. It's funny that, and I mean, I shouldn't say it's funny, but it's a coincidence. It's no coincidence that an antibiotic against life goes in and it kills your gut microbiome. That's what connects you to your environment and connects you with your people. And then when you feel disconnected, you feel depressed. When you feel disconnected, you feel anxious. Then you start thinking about the future or for the past, and you're disconnected to the right now. So connect to your local farmer, get some locally grown seasonal foods is going to be the best thing. Get outside in your backyard, put your hands in the dirt and try to grow some of your own food. Can be, because then you're getting all of it. You're getting under the sun, you're getting into the dirt, you're touching the earth, you're growing some of the most natural healthy food that you can possibly eat. And that's really going to improve your gut microbiome, your gut brain axis. um, and yeah, just chill out with the processed food, chill out with the food that's sprayed with all the chemicals. That's why organic is so special and so powerful, because when you're eating, even if it's just lettuce or even if it's just corn or wheat that's sprayed with so much of this pesticide and this glyphosate, yeah, that's an antibiotic. So when we're eating that, it's causing all sorts of issues in our brain that's making us go crazy. So one of the most powerful things you could do is improve your nutrition. Another thing is actually the way that we're breathing is actually constantly and always tuning our nervous system on how to feel. So, for example, if you constantly feel anxious, if you constantly are feeling worried, a huge part of that could be the way that you're breathing. Because so many of us tend to be breathing through our mouth and through our chest, these short, shallow breaths like that. Um, Literally just tell almost every cell in our body to stress and fight for its life. So the more that we can close our mouth, breathe through our nose, observe and listen, I'm telling you, this is the key, bringing you back into the present moment, being aware with yourself and how you're breathing can be so powerful for your mental health. So breathe through the nose. Try to make it a habit to always breathe through the nose. The only time that you should be breathing through your mouth is if you are like fighting for your life at 100% max effort. If you're in sixth gear, pedal to the metal, all the way down, where that's everything you got. but you shouldn't be in that state all day or most of the day. Maybe once a day for a really intense workout, or once a month if you're doing something crazy. But you really want to focus on breathing through the nose. And when you breathe through the nose, you're telling your nervous system to calm down. Just being aware of how you're breathing is bringing you into the present moment. That's one of the most powerful things that I found about breath when I was struggling the most with mental health issues, and I was first getting into breathing because of that. Is every single time that I caught myself feeling bad, thinking these bad things, one, I would notice that it was always about me. It was always about me and my ego of like, oh, this isn't right because of this, or this happened to me, or I'm missing this. And when I would catch myself, that moment of awareness, and the more I did meditation and Wim Hof breathing, the more I was aware of how I was thinking, because that's kind of the practice of the meditation. But I would become aware of this, and then just simply go back to my breath. And when I would notice my mind going to this place that didn't serve me, and then just stop and feel my breath in through the nose, out through the nose for a little bit longer, that breath brings you into the present moment where there's no anxiety, there's no depression, there's no stress. And if there is some anxiety, stress, and a depression in that present moment, you deal with it and you manage it and you learn to let it go and to understand that. It's all about coming back into the present moment. And that's the beautiful thing about putting your awareness and your attention on your breath, is every single breath is right now, is the present moment, because the last breath was the past and the next breath is the future. And what I've found is the more that we can be present in our lives, the better we're going to feel and the better we're going to perform. That doesn't matter if it's a conversation with somebody you love, a test, your work, exercise, anything that's important to you. The more your phone is up and away and you're just giving all of your attention and your being and everything you got into that present moment, is when you're going to feel the best. Okay. And what I've found again is mental health is just so much close to physical health. We have to consume less and exercise more. And what I mean by that is, with mental health, especially anxiety specifically, is like this overconsumption of these over thoughts that is just being bogged down on everything. It feels like you just have so much going on up here you can't deal with right now. So any sort of external stress or environment is just too much. And that's why we got to consume less. One of the best things that you can do if you're struggling with anxiety, struggle with depression, is put your phone away. Get off the TV, get off the computer, turn your phone off for a day, turn your phone off for 3 days. And it's going to be uncomfortable and it's going to be difficult, but that's exactly what you need to exercise your mind, to strengthen your mind. Because, mental health is, once you get to the point where you're mentally unhealthy to mentally healthy, then you want to work towards mentally strong. Okay. And that comes with mental exercise in the same way as, your physical health as well. So consume less, first of all, spend less time on the phone, because the energy of the phone is literally the exact energy that just feeds anxiety. You're comparing towards others. You're seeing the craziest, most gnarliest things going on in the whole world. And you're just having that monkey brain on full throttle, pedal to the metal. Turn it off and just sit and be with yourself and understand yourself. The more you sit with yourself and listen and observe your breath, the more you can listen and understand yourself. And the more you understand yourself, the more you can master yourself. And the pursuit of getting and improving your mental health and the pursuit of becoming more mentally stronger is the pursuit of self-mastery. That, I got news for you, it never ends. Just because maybe you are overcoming that mental health and you're feeling really mentally strong today, if you don't continue these real positive habits and continually to work at your mental health, it can slip down, and it has, and it does. So you want to constantly keep working on that. So Take time away from your phone, from people, technology, and just let go and release the attachments. So much of it feels like we're being bogged down with all of this. And the more that we can just stop, let it go. And what I like to do is, again, I like to use my breath. What's really powerful is our exhales. Everybody can do that. Take 3 to 5 seconds in, and then big sigh out. Just let it all go. Keep letting it go. Inhale again. And on this exhale, really focus on releasing the tension in your shoulders because this is where we hold the stress. And just to let that go, let all the BS from our day go, can have us feeling lighter in that moment right away. And the next thing is we want to exercise our mind to improve our mental health. So, how do we exercise our mind? Okay. One is learn something new. Like, that is one of the most beneficial and productive ways to improve your mental health is by learning something new. And I'm not telling you to go to library and study something you don't care about. Find something you really care about. Find something you really that really interests you. Um, and anytime you can learn something new, you're making new connections in your brain, which is new connections with yourself, which definitely helps. When you breathe in through the nose, do you always exhale through the mouth? Really, the more you breathe in and out of your nose, the better. But sometimes it feels good just to have a nice audible exhale, sigh out through the mouth. But really, the more you can breathe through your nose, the calmer your system will be. Um, Another thing that is really good way to exercise your mind is to find progress in yourself or your environment. So one of the best ways to spend your time if you're struggling with mental health is to get better. Like I said, learn something. You can read a book or you can go out and exercise. Exercise is one of the best things that we've found that is proven to be so powerful for your mental health. But get better at something. Find a way to sharpen your own saw mentally, physically, or emotionally. Mentally, you can meditate, you can read, you could try to do a puzzle, challenge your mind. And improve your environment too. What I found is just cleaning your house, making your house cleaner and more organized just to improve your environment. Because remember, we are our environment. If you declutter your environment, you tend to do a number on decluttering your mind. So clean your room, make your bed, wash your dishes. Something as simple as that will make you feel really good because you have some positive, productive momentum. um, or go in your backyard and plant a tree. When I was struggling with my mental health issues, that was one of the most beneficial things that we did. Was I got in my backyard, I was breathing, I was moving, I was planting a tree, I was getting my hands in the dirt, and it just connects you with yourself, connects you with your environment, gets you outside, which is so powerful. One of the next exercises that you can do to really build mental strength, and that is awesome for your mental health, is just by doing something really, really hard. Just by doing something really difficult is so good for your mind and so good for your body. One thing that I've noticed is the people who struggle with depression, and this came from my own experience as well, tend to constantly avoid discomfort, and they tend to chase comfort and wanting to just feel good in that moment, and they avoid challenging tasks. But to go out and just do something really difficult takes your mind from here to here. It just up levels, and it strengthens yourself in the same way of lifting a lot of weight strengthens your body. So, for example, cold showers is the easiest, simplest thing that everybody has access to that is really difficult. And that is one of the best things you could do for your mental health. So, if you're serious about mental health, before you go to the doctor and take one of those pills, try taking freezing cold showers every single day. And that alone just teaches you how to overcome your physiology, how to overcome your mind. because a depressed mind talks him or herself out of doing anything that's good for them. And when you could walk into that bathroom, turn that shower as cold as it goes, and when your mind is starting to tell you every reason why you shouldn't do that, and for you to overcome that mental chatter and jump in that cold shower anyway and just sit there in that freezing cold, it's not only gives you a million one different health benefits, but your mental health just improves almost immediately. Or a difficult, hard workout can be one of the best things that you can do for your mental health as well. Go to the gym, and or you don't even need to go for the gym. One of the best things that you could do is go for a hike. Go hike up a mountain, go hike in a park, go for as long as you possibly can, and then find your way back. And that alone can be so difficult, but it's going to get you outside, it's going to get you under that sun, and that's what's going to not only help you improve your mental health, but by doing something hard strengthens you mentally as well. Um, I'm sure there's a bunch of other really difficult things. You know, I've read a lot of things where you could just literally chase with what scares you. So look into your life, and where do you find the most fear? Where do you find the most anxiety? And just stand up and face it. That could be the hardest thing to do. But when you stand up and face your fears and face your anxiety, that tends to be the way. The famous Stoic author, I know Edmund knows his name, but he wrote that book, The Obstacle is the Way. So look around your life and find what's really difficult and go into it and face it head on. Don't be afraid. Turn the phone off and just face it. And it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be difficult, but it's extremely powerful. And one of the hardest things to do for us overactive mind, monkey brain humans is to just sit in stillness. When was the last time that you put your phone on airplane mode, set a 30-minute timer, walked out in your backyard, and just sat there for 30 minutes? Not let yourself do anything else, not let yourself grab your phone, not let yourself talk or answer anyone, or not let yourself go turn the TV on. Ryan Holiday, thank you, David. Ryan Holiday wrote that book. Um, the Obstacle is the Way. But again, when was the last time you set your timer for 30 minutes and just sat in stillness? This can be one of the most difficult things, but one of the most beneficial ways to connect with yourself and to release all the BS. Because what I found is, when I was first doing this, and the first 5 minutes, I think I was doing all right. And then 5 to 10, it would get really difficult. I'd almost try to talk myself out of it. And then all of my normal thoughts of, the things that always tend to come up started coming up. And then you just sit back and you listen to yourself, and then you just let it go. And the more it comes up, the more you just let it go. And then after a while, you quit having things to think about. And you get this moment of presence where you're just in this moment. And then that's when you can really start to dive deep into yourself and to understand yourself and to really become more aware of who you are and why you're here. So if you struggle with mental health, get outside, turn that phone off. And I would set a timer, 30 minutes, at least 15 minutes, 30 minutes. If you can do 60 minutes, do 60 minutes. Go for a hard hike, go jump in a freezing cold lake, do something difficult, and just get outside and sit with yourself and connect with yourself, connect with your environment. And another thing that can be extremely powerful, maybe the most powerful, is we have to find a purpose. And we have to find a purpose bigger than ourselves, or else we're always going to fall short of that mental health. What I found is, like I said, the more we're living for ourselves, the more that we're going to be unhappy. But the more that we can find a purpose that's bigger than ourselves, the better we're going to feel. The more we contribute to our environment, the more our environment will contribute to us, and the better we feel and the better we're going to be connected. Another practice that my big brother taught me when I was really struggling with mental chatter of talking down on myself, I had a really negative dialogue with myself in my own mind. And every morning when I woke up and every single morning before I went to bed, I just sat there and tried to think of my strengths, of three big strengths. One strength that I was born with, that I was just naturally get for some reason, I don't know why. Another strength that I've learned along the way, because of my personal experiences, and that's another really rad thing, is all of the difficult things that happen in our childhood, all the most challenging obstacles that we dealt with in our life tend to give us some of our biggest strengths. So instead of using these bad things that happened to us as a kid as an excuse, we can actually use them as a stepping stone to stand up nice and tall and to really build upon that strength. And then a third strength, just something that you know you're good at and something that just comes really natural to you. And this practice, by waking up every single morning and connecting with your strengths, and before you falling asleep, connecting with your strengths, it gives you like this superpower that you always have these super tools right in your back pocket anytime you need them throughout the day. And the more that we can be aware of our innate gifts and strengths, and the more that we can develop them, and this goes back to just learning something new or finding progress in yourself, is to find your strengths and develop your strengths to as best as you can. And then when you know your strengths, you've developed your strengths, and then you devote those strengths that you have. We all have strengths. There isn't one person on this earth that wasn't gifted with some ability that is unique to them. And the more that you can connect with that, develop that, because we still have to develop it no matter what, and devote those strengths towards something bigger than ourselves, is when we're really going to start flourishing, is when we're really going to start feeling really good. And bigger than ourselves, it, like I said, it doesn't have to be end world hunger if that's not really your interest. It has to find something that you are just oddly interested in. And you can find this by what really bothers you in the world. What problem do you want to work towards to fix, or what is super important to you and your family or in your community or in your life. Just devote your strengths towards that, and that's when we're really going to feel fulfilled, and is when we're aligning our gifts with a bigger purpose that's bigger than ourselves. To know your strengths and devote them toward your specific interest that is bigger and more important than self. And from my experience, the more I just focused on that and brought myself back into the present moment and just try to better myself in each moment, raise my vibration, raise my energy as best as I can for my environment and for the things that really interest me, the better I feel. Um, so, yeah, I mean, I really hope a lot of this helped you guys. If you guys have any questions, you can leave them in the comment box below. If you're live on this conversation, we could take a few time or a few moments for some questions. If you are watching later on YouTube, I will come back and answer those questions. But we all have the ability to be happy, healthy, and strong. Every single one of us on this planet has the ability to become happy, healthy, and strong, but it doesn't happen by accident. Especially because of our modern day lifestyles with all these screens and the roads and the toxicity in our environment, it's not going to happen by accident. We have to intentionally be happy. We have to intentionally be healthy, and we have to intentionally be strong. This comes with intention, by clarifying what we're intending to feel, how we're intending to feel, practicing just sitting in that meditation, feeling the way we want to feel. If you want to feel happier, well, get on the ground, get on your mat, and practice feeling happiness. If you want to feel, joyful, if you want to feel love, compassion, whatever you want to feel, you can literally connect with your breath, get on the ground, and practice feeling that. So, I mean, if we don't have any questions, I can end this pretty soon. I just want to say thank you guys so much for showing up. Get outside, turn that phone off, get outside and get healthier, and sending good vibes your way. I hope you guys are doing awesome. If there's any way that I can help you, just let me know. I know we have a lot of really awesome things on our website, www.thewillgrant.com. We have that happy, healthy, strong in 6 weeks that literally puts all of our best habits and routines and workouts, everything hard, everything from, our nutrition aspect to, breath work to morning routines to even some cold showers in there as well. That is really going to help you be happy, healthy, strong. Or if you're just looking to learn how to connect more with yourself, I have that breath one-on-one master class that literally teaches you everything about breath, how to breathe properly throughout the day, a list of different breathing exercises to really start connecting with yourself, and even the breathing exercises for different intentions. If you're trying to connect with yourself, if you're trying to accomplish a goal, if you're just trying to feel better, release some stress, we got that in there. And like I said, the gut brain axis, we also have that nutrition one-on-one masterclass on there as well. And we have all of these awesome topics going down every single week. So if you want to jump in on these conversations, you can go to chatwithwillgrant.com and join up. Thank you guys so much for coming. I really appreciate it. And if we have a question, have you heard about the Clifton Strengths Finder by Gallup, folks? I'll send you the link to it. No, I haven't, but yeah, send me the link. That's really cool. And yeah, connect with your strengths, man. That is one of the most important thing you can do. Connect with your strengths, develop them, and then devote them to something bigger than you. Turn that phone off and get outside. um, all right, guys. Unless we have any more questions, I am signing off. Thank you guys so much for joining. Share this information, share this chat with anyone who you feel like can really help, because the stronger we can become as individuals, the stronger we can be as a species and as a planet. Um, thank you so much. Looks like Dr. Edmonds is here, but we are signing off. Thank you guys so much, and we are out.